pretty sure it's not supposed to misfire like this. Yeah, really, it's not supposed to misfire. Oh well. Hello, this is Logical Projects here, and this is everything wrong with my 1985 Z300ZX chassis code Z31. Engine's running-ish, but the car itself is just far from daily drivable, yeah, alone even completion, if possible. I have a laundry list of things I need to fix on this car. So, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first talk about the exterior problems, going front to back. Then I'm going to talk about the engine and its suspension and brakes. And then I'm going to talk about what's imaginary interior, I guess. This is getting annoying. Mainly because so much problems. Okay, so let's talk about the exterior first. It looks better on camera-ish, but the paint is just bad. There's like the paint. It's even have a clear coat failure. The decals on it is peeled off. Someone attempted to remove the exterior trim, but failed miserably. The paint on the headlight buckets is just gone, and it's missing the Z badge on the front and the nose, and also the bumper's not even aligned. It's annoying. Not much on really underside, but when the frame rails got crushed, so I attempt to jack it up incorrectly and crush the frame rail on the car. So maybe part of the floor also, which is why it kind of feels weird when resting my foot on the clutch. Not clutch, on the dead pedal, I meant. And what else? Rust everywhere. Cracked windshield, although it's illegal to drive like this in Alaska, so I'm fine. Dead windshield wiper blades. I need new windshield wiper blades. The driver's side window will not has problems rolling down, up and down. It seems like the teeth on the gears are misaligned. What else? More rust. Paint gone. Cracking on the paint. The T-tops are mismatched, and they're not even the original T-tops. Some from other Z. Forgot my hands on it. Someone took out the antenna, and they even bothered plugging up the hole for the antenna. So now rainwater got inside the trunk, and now I have rust issues in the back. So the center roll taillight bar is gone, well, not gone, but like destroyed. The rear defroster does not work right. It seems like the back window got scratched up internally somehow. Lots more rust. Busted up bumper. Someone attempted to replace the exhaust system on this car, doing a cat delete and then putting a fart cannon, but that cracked because it's such a shitty job. So, crappy paint, more rust. Oh, I almost forgot. This is a Nissan wheel. That's a Z wheel. The Nissan wheel not only doesn't look right on a Z car, it's also the width is and the backspace offset is wrong, so it's pushed too much inward, and it won't fit in the front. So I put it in the rear until I can figure out where I can find matching rims for this car. This came off. more paint and decal issues. Other side looks better, honestly. And rust and like missing clips on the fender liner, and this is gonna be a mess. And this is just exterior, what you can see. Okay, so next thing up on the list is talking about the engine bay. Okay, so this is the non-turboed version. I'm planning to keep this NA for various reasons. I'll explain this later. But for starters, someone replaced the plaque on it with a turbo plaque. I would cover, I guess, intake cover. And what else? Oh, someone replaced the fuel line with a non-rated for fuel injection fuel line. Someone did not bother bolting up the fuel filter. Various things are not bolted up. It's missing the cam timing cover, and I actually do not want to put it back in because it's mangled. And last time I tried to put the mangled thing back in, it resulted in a broken timing belt, which started the whole series actually. So I got a fan clutch that's connected to no fan with no fan bolted on, and that's because I don't know why. So currently there's no mechanical fan. Instead, they have this. Where is it? Corolla AC fan, 1995 Toyota Corolla AC fan to cool the engine. It actually does a good job cooling down the engine, although I'm planning to upgrade to something bigger. But however, it's manually controlled by a switch. So right now, so I have to go pop the hood to turn the fan before starting the engine. The other side does a good job of making sure that the engine warms up and stuff. So it's not really a big problem, and it actually does do a pretty good job of cooling the engine, surprisingly. We have a undersized air filter. Someone tried to replace a factory air filter with a cone filter, but the issue is it's pretty small for the relative engine size. So I'm pretty sure it's having problems sucking in air. This plastic thing is loose. The only reason why I haven't removed it is it probably is kind of a pain to remove, and it actually helps keep warm air from going into the air intake. I had to replace some of the fittings on this. Some of these hosing are cracked. I just basically put electrical tape to kind of patch it up. Call it good. The all cable is loose. And what else? Yeah, so it's just there's a little bit of play, but it's already a max adjustment, so it's not like I can make it tighter. We're missing a power sting 8 bracket for power steering pump, so power steering is basically useless because I cannot tension the belt if I put the belt on. There's no belt for AC, but we have more HVAC issues I need to explain later. And the downpipe is cracked, and exhaust system's cracked, so I need to get that replaced. I'm planning to replace it with headers. And oh yeah, it also uses a Honda Accord battery, not the original size battery. So I'm planning to, and there's no bracket to tie down on the battery. Someone already deleted the air injection system and deleted a cat, although I'm planning to put the cat back on, a new one, a high flow one, when I redo the exhaust system because I'm a nice guy. On the hosing for the windshield washer is chopped, burnt up, so that's kind of useless. Since we're up the front, let's talk about the headlights. The headlights are not aligned, and they are loose. At least the headlight motor works. I explained in a separate video that I fixed it, but because they're not bolted down. I cannot get them aligned. I need to replace the hardware on that hold both those headlights down. Fog lights don't work on the car. I haven't bothered figuring out why yet, because headlights more important than the fog lights. And then there's some coolant leak on the. It's leaking out a radio cap, so I have to replace the radio cap along with some of the old hosing. Although it's not too bad. I could probably get away with just topping off the coolant. And I think that's it for the engine. Besides a bunch of vacuum leaks, and also the misfire. It's misfiring, and I'm assuming it's because the ignition wiring on the engine's gone bad. So I have to get that fixed. So I guess next up would be suspension and brakes. Okay, one thing I almost forgot to mention. The hood struts doesn't really keep the, it has a tendency to slam the hood while it's underneath the hood, so that's a problem. So now I'll talk about suspension. Biggest problem, shocks are completely bad. Like, they're completely dead. Like, you can see how much it bounces. And how much it bounces after I let go. Yep. That's pretty bad. So, it needs new front shock absorbers. Previous owners say that they replace the rear shocks on the back of the car, but the rust on them says otherwise. But they are actually stiff. So, I give them credit for that. I already put in new tires on this. The alignment is bad on this. And then the other side needs new inner and outer tie rods. The driver's side needs new inner and outer tie rods. Brakes, actually pretty good for what they look like. They honestly, the only car that felt like it has better brakes would be that 2016 Honda Civic, although it feels worse. That one, it has no bite. This car has no bite, not much bite, but fairly linear, and it just feels really nice. I feel confident not having ABS on this car. It's playing control, and it's just nice and firm. But this is testing on the street. Maybe you'll see otherwise on the track. But brake pads are okay, but I'm planning to replace them along with the rotors. The passenger side, on the other hand, it has no pads left, and the rotors, it's just bad. And when I pull the handbrake, it doesn't. I have to pull it pretty high to keep the car from rolling down the hill. Along with saying the putting in first gear to keep the car from rolling down. And I did explain that from the exterior that one of the wheels is mismatched. So I'm planning to get a new set of matching Nissan wheels for this car. Also, this car is missing its side skirt rocker cover thing. I'm pretty sure there's something factory because it looks like factory hardware. So, not sure what happened to it. Oh well. Let's move on to the interior. Okay, so interior-wise, it's worse than the exterior, a lot worse. So, at least the hood struts actually keep the hood hatch struts actually are decent. There is nothing. There is nothing. There is nothing. Focus, you. Okay. There is nothing. No carpet, no plastic. There's still a dashboard. There's somewhat of a headliner left. There is nothing. Previous owner said he's trying to do a drift build, but here's the problem with the Z car. The chassis itself is heavy, not just the interior. So even when you strip all that weight off, you still have a heavy chunks of metal in the chassis. And then all this metal here is pretty heavy, and just And then if you actually bother to strip the metal down, it's probably cheaper just to get S13 or something. That is more worthy for light weight reduction. But yeah, there is nothing left, nothing in the interior. So I don't know what to do about it. Nothing. Oh yeah. So the left seat, the driver's seat, is actually a passenger seat, Z car seat, from a different Z car, while the passenger seat on the right is from a '03 Honda Accord. One of the first priorities I'm planning to do is to replace the both seats with matching seats. I'm trying to figure out which seats I'll go with, but I think it's GTS seats. I forgot what's the manufacturer name, but it looks pretty good, and it's a direct bolt-on for this car. So I'll probably get those seats. Nice thing about this car is hatch doesn't leak. That's for not just hatch, but also the T-tops doesn't leak, which is good. Yet somehow I got a okay, there you go. There's rust and more rust in this interior, even though it doesn't really leak, except for that hole there. Going inside the car, there is no door panel. There is a aftermarket speaker that is used to just get the Betty working, I guess. We have damaged wiring for the window motor. I got this window controls working. We're missing the door panel on the other side. No interior left. The car usually used to have spacers on it, but I got rid of them. What else? No carpet. The center console is from a different Z car. I'm actually surprised that there's another Z car in Alaska, but oh well. I fixed the fan control amplifier-ish, but I kind of half-assed the repair, so it kind of intermittently works and it doesn't work. But most of the time it works. Put it in on position. Yeah, it's on max right now. Okay, now it fixed itself. Okay, it stopped working, right? Oh well. What else? This guy's loose. And there's no backlight. The low pressure sender, I think, it's not the gauge, but the sender is acting up. So, even when the engine's off, the car is reading that there's oil pressure. I'm running 20W50 on this engine because it's burning oil, and it's actually recommended on the owner's manual, but I'm not totally. But I'm pretty sure it's the high oil pressure is not caused by the oil pressure and oil itself. I mean viscosity. What else? Oh, one nice thing. Someone actually replaced the ZU steering wheel with a period correct Nissan steering wheel, which actually feels nice actually to drive. But here's the problem: when I installed the steering wheel, there's a notch here that marks where the center is, and they did not install the steering wheel straight. So what happened? Yeah, they didn't install the steering wheel straight on this car. So they installed the steering wheel crooked and didn't have this car aligned, which caused it to have all sorts of alignment issues. So, plus apparently they hammered its shaft. Do not hammer steering wheel and shaft. That's pretty dumb with them. And oh yeah, we have vacuum leaks on the HVAC system. The HVAC doesn't quite work right. At least it gets warm in the car during winter. When I drive in the winter, I keep the T-tops off, and the and it's still pretty warm even when the fender was busted at the time. And also, cruise control doesn't work because I'm missing a button here. The button went missing. And yeah, no radio. Honestly, it's not bad. Oh yeah, one more thing. Fuel gauge doesn't work quite right. Poke it. Yeah, okay, it's too bright outside. But it's a common problem with the Z31s for the fuel gauge not work. Nissan offers a redesigned fuel sender, but they cost around $160. So what I did is I added Tacron stuff to it, the gum out whatever fuel cleaner stuff, and it did help it immensely. Before it was just always showing empty, now it actually shows something. Oh yeah, no door handles, but yeah. I am missing the mirror controls on this car, and the mirrors just everything's just busted. It needs to be fixed. This is gonna be a big project. One more thing I forgot to mention: all the bushings on this car need to be replaced on the suspension. It handles really nicely, but it could be better. Now here's one of the real questions. Why am I dealing with this car? Why am I dealing with this? Why not just use my Toyota Corolla here, which is a good, reliable college car? And that's because it just drives nice and it's unique. And why not? Let's not lock my keys inside the car. Anyway, and the other nice thing about this is the drivetrain and suspension system, the underpinnings on this car, is basically Nissan parts bin. So if I want to bring this car to top performance, what I need to do is to swap in a Pathfinder / Z car hybrid engine and replace do a S13 rear suspension swap and do a full-on S13 coilovers, and that'll bring the car to its top performing level. Besides driving and handling, my goal is to make this a daily driver, and so my goal is to get it to be somewhat almost as reliable as my Corolla somehow. Not sure how is that possible, but I'll figure it out. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to replace all the sound deadening, put in a new one. The new one's going to be lighter and perform better due to better materials. Put in a new radio. I'm going to put in, get as much things working as much as possible. Put in new seats to make the driver's seat, quote unquote, driver's seat, isn't great right now. It's kind of worn out. So I gotta replace it with aftermarket. And yeah, I'm not sure what the fate of the car would be, but because in order to fully restore this car, I have to find another Z car. So but it's a nice car. It's more on the very, very few cars, rear-wheel drive cars that are driven that's stiff in handling. One more thing I almost forgot. What I'm going to do in this car, engine tuning wise and performance wise. So this is an NA engine. I'm not planning to do a turbo swap or turbo install anytime soon, or even on this car. If I'm going to go turbo car, it's not going to be this one. I don't want to deal with the I like having fuel economy. I don't want to deal with installing a turbo. I want to keep the AC on this car, so I'm not going to do the turbo relocation kit either. And I just like to keep this NA. Maybe in a future project, if I come across a Turbo Z, maybe I'll get it Turbo Z, but this is going to be NA or fully NA. I'm probably going to do, once I get the supporting stuff fixed, because you cannot go fast if your brakes don't work, although they do work. Well, okay, let me rephrase. You cannot go fast if this once I start working on that, I'm probably going to do a bunch of airflow mods on this engine. And I'm going to install, you know, bigger air filter, proper headers, proper exhaust system, since there's nothing at all currently on this car. Just open headers and headers, quote unquote. And probably might in the future get cams. One thing I failed to mention when rebuilding this engine is I actually installed high spring rate valve springs on this. So now when I rev this engine, it revs really nicely up to, it doesn't make much power past 5,000 RPM, but doesn't fall off either. So it's nice to drive this, you know, revving the engine around in town and in the highway. So, and also back roads, this is nice to rev. So I'm just going to have it a higher revving build. And I guess in a far-fetched future, I might do the VG33 swap along with the, is it still recording? Okay. And camera's battery's going to die. And might do VG33 swap and S13 rear end swap. But that's a far-fetched future. I'm not sure if I'm going to do coilovers, but if I'm going to do any drastic modifications, I guess coilovers would be the first thing that I'll start. But yeah, I'm just happy with just 150 horsepower, to be honest. I drive a 100 horsepower Corolla. I find that enough. Maybe 200 horsepower out of this V6 would be nice. But I like to keep at least 20 miles per gallon out of this car. I don't know how much fuel economy I get right now, especially in this poor condition, and especially with a not working fuel gauge. But yeah, this is logical projects. I have a long project to do.